Coverage you can count on. This is WAAY 31 News at 4.
I'm Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Taylor Canoose. Tomorrow is a 31 alert day for the threat of severe weather. I'll walk you through the latest timeline and severe weather threats coming up.
The family of a man shot and killed by Decatur police pledging to file a federal civil rights lawsuit. WAAY 31 News spoke to Catrella Perkins and the family's attorney just 24 hours after 3 officers were fired and another suspended.
Decatur city leaders reacting to Mayor Bowling's decision to fire 3 police officers involved in the shooting death of Steve Perkins. I'm WAAY 31's Matt Paskowitz. One city council member, Hunter Pepper, shares with me he believes the mayor made the wrong decision.
We begin with breaking news. Officials identifying the 3rd victim in Wednesday's mass shooting on the campus of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Naoko Takamuro was one of the 3 faculty members killed by Anthony Polito. The university says she was an associate professor of Japanese studies. In less than 10 minutes, we will have more on the federal government's response and what we're learning about the shooter. Thanks for joining us for WAAY 31 News at 4. I'm Dan Schaefer. Marie Waxel has the afternoon off. Our top story, the threat for severe weather across the area tomorrow. Let's get right over to WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Taylor Canoose, who's tracking what to expect on tomorrow's 31 Alert Day.
Yes, that's right. We've decided to issue that 31 Alert Day. The threat for severe weather increasing for North Alabama, especially on Saturday evening. Let's walk you through what we're expecting. Heavy rainfall, some potential for damaging wind gusts, and brief tornadoes will be possible between 5 p.m. and midnight on mainly Saturday evening. This is a threat for all of North Alabama into southern middle Tennessee as well. At this hour on 31 Triple Doppler, not seeing much in the way of rainfall, though there may be some sprinkles beginning to develop in our far southwest counties, and that will become more and more of something we'll see as the night wears on. Future radar shows a mainly dry next several hours, but by late this evening and especially after midnight, the showers and potentially isolated storms start to become a little bit more widespread. So a good chance that some of you at least get some rain overnight tonight and to kick off the day on Saturday. Good news about tonight is there's virtually no threat for severe weather, but there could be a few rumbles of thunder here and there. Looking ahead to Saturday, we will have chances at rain during the morning and the afternoon, but our best chance at severe weather will arrive in the evening, starting in the shoals between 5 and 8 o'clock, moving into the I-65 corridor in Huntsville Metro between 7 and 10 o'clock on Saturday, and then moving into Sand Mountain between 9 and midnight on Saturday night. So that's our time frame. I'll walk you through what we can expect for the entire weekend, a closer look at what this looks like on future radar. That's all coming up in about 10 minutes.
Hey, police, get on the ground!
Shattered in 6 seconds, that's how long it took for Decatur police to confront, shoot, and kill Steve Perkins more than 2 months ago. New right now, we have team coverage a day after the announcement of 3 officers fired and 1 suspended. We're hearing from Steve Perkins' wife and the family's attorney who are promising a federal civil rights lawsuit. WAAY 31's Matt Paskowitz is standing by in Decatur with reaction from a city councilman who's been outspoken since that shooting. But first, WAAY 31's Jillian Kay joins us live from downtown Huntsville, where the family shared their next move as they try to make sense of what happened more than 2 months ago. Jillian.
Yeah, Dan, Steve Perkins' wife and lawyer told me inside this building today that, you know, yesterday's formal firing of 3 of the cops involved in this case is little more than just a first step towards justice. And they say it's a late one at that. Now they say firing the officers involved is only the beginning. The end, they say, will be when all officers involved are convicted for murder. Both tell me firing the officers was literally the very least Mayor Bowling could do.
Terminations was the low-hanging fruit. It's the easy thing to do. If I murder somebody on my job, the last thing I'm concerned about is whether or not I'm going to be fired. I'm thinking about going to prison. And so, yes, check, that's part of the justice, but it's certainly lacking. We need a lot more to be done.
Merritt and Perkins say they were granted permission from the court to go forward with filing their federal civil rights lawsuit. They say they are in the final stages of getting it together and will be filing it next week. We will, of course, keep you posted. For now, I'm live in Huntsville with coverage you can count on. Jillian Kay, WAAY 31 News.
Thanks, Jillian. And all this as Decatur City Council member Hunter Pepper spoke out today in the wake of yesterday's decision by the mayor. Pepper has been vocal about his support for those officers involved in Steve Perkins' death. WAAY 31's Matt Paskowitz joins us live now from Decatur. And Matt, this council member says those officers should file an appeal.
Hey, Dan, he did. Decatur City Council member Hunter Peppers did not hold back today his opinions on the mayor's decision to fire those 3 police officers. And Peppers says the mayor made his judgment before having all the evidence right in front of him. And Peppers says personally he will not stop supporting those officers, fired or not. You might remember a little more than a week ago when Pepper released a statement expressing his support for those officers while claiming the mayor had already made a disciplinary decision before having any hearings. Mayor Bowling says that's a lie. Observers we spoke would say the devil is in the details. Mayor Bowling was given recommendations by the police chief, and those recommendations were likely followed after the hearing. And that Pepper claims is predetermined. Mayor Bowling says he stands by his word.
My question that I've had to the mayor is how can you make an informed decision and a judgment on these officers on termination when all of the evidence is still not present at this time?
Pepper said these police officers have already been judged without getting their fair day in court. And that's not everything Pepper shared his opinions on today. Tonight on WAAY 31 News at 5, Peppers takes a strike at protesters and says he is the victim here. Reporting live in Decatur with coverage you can count on. I'm Matt Paskowitz, WAAY 31 News.
All right, thanks, Matt. So what are the next steps? Well, the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency will finish its investigation and turn those results over to the Morgan County District Attorney's Office. That office will decide if criminal charges will be brought against the officers involved. This is separate from the decision made by the city of Decatur this week. Now, we spoke to a lawyer who says the family can also pursue legal action against the city and the officers.
On the civil side, there, obviously I believe his civil rights were violated in that they didn't follow their policy procedures prior to discharging their firearms. That could lead to a civil claim against the officers individually and the department for the death of Mr. Perkins.
Our coverage of these latest developments does not stop here. You can find a full library of all stories and interviews on our website, WAAYTV.com, and you can also find it on our WAAY 31 News app. It's free to download. We're working to learn more about a DeKalb County substitute teacher arrested for having sex with a student. Kristen Ford was booked into jail last night. The DeKalb County Sheriff's Office says it opened an investigation after receiving complaints about an inappropriate relationship between Ford and a student. Right now, she does not have a bond set. A Lauderdale County man is locked up this afternoon on 25 counts of possession of child porn. Kevin Prather was arrested yesterday. A grand jury indicted him on the charges last month. His arraignment is scheduled for February 1st. 6 people, including 4 children, are recovering from an early morning car crash. Huntsville police say most were taken to Huntsville Hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. However, one of the children did have more serious injuries and was airlifted to UAB Hospital. The 3-car wreck happened around 7:30 Friday morning near Drake Avenue and Patton Road. Less than an hour ago, President Biden arrived in Las Vegas 48 hours after that deadly mass shooting at UNLV. This as officials identified the 3rd victim, and we are learning more about the shooter. ABC's Tim Pulliam reports the gunman was a former professor who taught at a different college.
In Las Vegas, the Clark County coroner identifying the 3rd person murdered in the UNLV shooting. 69-year-old associate professor Naoko Takumaru died from multiple gunshot wounds. Security video shows the final moments of the shooting when an officer encounters the gunman. The suspect, seen here wearing a long coat, goes after the police officer, who then turns around and shoots the suspect, killing him.
These 2 detectives are heroes. They risk their lives in order to save countless others.
Police say the 67-year-old former professor who applied for positions at UNLV and other universities across the state but was denied was armed with a handgun he purchased legally and 9 magazines. And police say the suspect had a list of people he was targeting, but was unsuccessful finding them, turning the gun on other victims instead. Paul Whittington was in one of the gunman's classes at East Carolina, where the suspect taught for 15 years.
He kept a running log of every single negative thing that a student said about him. He would try to figure out who wrote the negative feedback.
Today, the UNLV community remembering the 3 faculty members killed, including Assistant Professor Patricia Navarro-Velez and Professor Cha-Jan Chang.
He was an excellent individual who tried to impart knowledge and kept on researching to better the field.
Investigators found 22 letters that the suspect sent to university personnel nationwide. They say that at least one of those letters was laced with talcum powder. Tim Pulliam, ABC News, Los Angeles.
A North Alabama lawmaker hoping to stop what he is calling overreach by state and local governments. Still ahead on WAAY 31 News at 4:30, how the proposal could impact you and your family during a pandemic if it's passed. Putting last-minute touches on presents for children in need. Next and new, volunteers with the Angel Tree program in the Shoals are getting into the holiday spirit.
And we have issued a 31 alert day for Saturday, but we could see the rain begin as soon as this evening. I'll walk you through the latest on 31 triple Doppler and what's to come later tonight after the break.
Coverage you can count on. This is WAAY 31 News at 4 with Dan Schaefer, Marie Waxel, and Chief Meteorologist Taylor Knust.
New at 4, last-minute preparations are underway before the Salvation Army of the Shoals will distribute gifts collected for its Angel Tree program. This is the Harvest Mitchell Gym at Burl Slater, filled wall-to-wall with gifts for children in need. A handful of volunteers and local churches will help sort gifts for 1,000 Angel Tree recipients. They call it a blessing to live in a community that has supported a project like this for more than 20 years now.
When the parents show up, there are lots of tears of joy. But we have to thank all of the people who did this for us. We didn't do all of this on our own. The people in the community are the ones that shopped for all of this and provided for the children who need it.
Salvation Army organizers say more families signed up for the Angel Tree program this year due to high prices across the country. Coming up at 5, a look at the man who's making a mission out of mac and cheese for the organization. Tomorrow is your last chance to help stuff the bus in the Shoals. All donations collected during the annual event go to the Lauderdale County and Florence City school systems. Drop off toys anytime between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. at the Walmart on Huff Road in Florence. Law enforcement in Marshall County is giving back to the community. The Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 18 and all agencies are giving more than 100 students in need a shopping spree tomorrow. They'll also receive breakfast and lunch. Well, heads up, if you're planning to send Christmas presents to friends and family through the mail, you have until December 16th, that's next Saturday, to mail any greeting cards or letters through the U.S. Postal Service. The deadline for packages to arrive on time is December 20th. There is the option to send presents on December 21st and pay a holiday premium, but USPS says there is no guarantee the package will arrive before Christmas. The U.S. jobs market remains strong in November, and with the addition, that is, of 199,000 new jobs. It's about 20,000 more than economists were expecting. The Fed believes this signals a soft landing. Still remains a possibility. That means inflation slows without a sharp rise in unemployment. On Wall Street, the jobs report helped stocks continue their winning ways. In fact, the market's notched the 6th straight week of gains, the longest stretch since 2019. The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed 130 points. The NASDAQ Composite Index added 64 points, and the S&P 500 gained 15 points.
Now, WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Taylor Knust with 31 Triple Doppler.
And tomorrow is a 31 alert day for the threat of severe thunderstorms. The threats we are tracking are heavy rainfall that could cause at least isolated flash flood issues, which is hard to believe considering the drought we've had the past several months, but that is possible, along with some strong gusts of wind along that main line of storms. And within that line of storms that's coming our way on Saturday evening, at least some potential for brief spin-up tornadoes embedded within that line. The best chance at seeing this severe weather will be between 5 p.m. on Saturday through midnight on Saturday night, and it is a threat for all of North Alabama. More on what's coming Saturday in just a moment, but let's start with what's going on outside right now. Not a bad Friday afternoon. Temperatures in the low 60s, mostly cloudy sky, but we are dry across North Alabama for the time being. It is also 61 in Decatur, Athens checking in at 60, Muscle Shoals at 63 degrees. The lone local Christmas parade going on this evening is in Fort Payne at 6 o'clock. Looking good to go. Temperatures in the upper 50s, and we will likely be dry for that parade tonight. Now, I know there are a lot of parades that have already been canceled for tomorrow. Probably a good call considering what's coming our way on Saturday. 31 Triple Doppler, mainly dry. We do have a couple showers being picked up on the 31 Triple Doppler out in Franklin County. That may just be some sprinkles at this point, but there is more rain developing in Mississippi to our west that may head our way late this evening and overnight tonight. The main front that's going to move our way tomorrow, that's still back in Oklahoma, and there is at least some threat that this could kick up some strong storms around Arkansas later on this evening and overnight tonight. But the bigger concern is what's coming tomorrow. Level 2 risk in place for much of the region, stretching from southern Kentucky through Tennessee, all the way down to Louisiana, and it has shifted eastward and now Those near and west of I-65 are under the level 2 out of 5 risk for severe storms. This includes part of Madison County, but the biggest concern will be for folks farther to the west, especially around the shoals. As I mentioned, heavy rainfall, high wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour, and brief spin-up tornadoes are all going to be possible between 5 p.m. and midnight on Saturday night. Let's walk through future radar for the next couple of days. The chances of rain will increase as the night wears on tonight, so we're looking at a good chance at hit and miss showers and isolated storms, especially after midnight tonight and early in the day on Saturday. Tomorrow is not going to be a complete washout. The showers will very much be scattered tomorrow morning and even for much of the afternoon. So if you're trying to run some errands, get some Christmas shopping done, I think morning through the early afternoon, you're probably going to be okay. You know, you may want the umbrella with you, but the heavier downpours, the threat for severe weather, that holds off until the evening. You're going to hang out inside by the time we get to the evening and as this front starts to move through our area. So here's a snapshot of 8 o'clock on Saturday evening. You can see these strong storms moving through at that time, pushing to northeast Alabama in the late evening and lingering all the way through midnight on Saturday night. Additional rain possible through early Sunday, but should be long gone by lunchtime on Sunday. Rain totals will certainly vary on the dependent on where the heaviest downpours develop, but upwards of 2 inches, maybe isolated totals up to 3 inches are a possibility. Most are likely going to be close to 1 inch of total rain when it is said and done. A chilly Sunday with a high of just 48 degrees. Sunshine returns on Monday and should stick around most of next week. And of course, another round of rain possible by the following weekend there on the 10-day forecast.
Deal with 30%. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
It's 100% tomorrow, but pay attention to the weather.
Yes,
You
yes.
guys will be here all weekend monitoring.
We sure will.
All right, thanks, Taylor. When we come back, we'll take a look at how one local woman is using her platform to help people all around the country supplement their income this holiday season. Today, one local woman is celebrating her 100th day of helping people all across the country make money. And she does it through TikTok. Mel Bowers is a local pastor and entrepreneur who's using her resources to give out job information. Her goal is to help people stop living from paycheck to paycheck. For the last 99 days, she's posted daily with a new job opportunity, and today marks the 100th day.
Jobs, companies that are hiring at all levels. I give it work from home. I give companies that are hiring, like I said, Poplin Pro. That's a laundry site. You don't have to have a lot of credentials to wash clothes. I think we're all pretty skilled at that. And people are making $6,000 a month on Poplin Pro. That's a life-changing type of income.
Today is also Bowers' birthday. She's choosing to celebrate by continuing to help people through the end of the year. You still have time to head over to Big Spring Park for tonight's Big Spring Jingle. That event starts at 5. It ends at 8 at Big Spring Park West. If you or someone close to you has special needs or sensory issues, you're invited to stop by early between 4 and 5. That event is promising music, dancing, giveaways, and, of course, a visit from Santa Claus. Federal health leaders approving a first-of-its-kind treatment for sickle cell disease. New at 4:30, hear from a teenager who says the medicine gave him a chance to be a normal kid.
Another wet weekend coming our way, especially on Saturday. Big changes in the temperatures, too. Look ahead to how long the cooler weather is going to stick around as we head toward next week. Coming up next.
Coverage you can count on. This is WAAY 31 News at 4:30.
As we come on the air at 4:30, our Storm Tracker weather team is monitoring a 31 alert day for tomorrow and the potential for strong to even severe storms. Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Taylor Canust is here, timing out the arrival of these storms.
And yeah, it's not going to be an all-day concern, but especially late in the day into Thursday night, that's when we need to be on high alert for really our first round of severe weather we've had in a while.
Late in the day into Saturday night.
Correct. Yeah. Sorry. Yes, correct. So tomorrow night we're looking at potential for damaging wind and even tornado threat is going to be possible for us in North Alabama as well. So 5 p.m. to midnight is our window that we'll have to be on the lookout for some strong storms, and that is a threat for all of North Alabama. At this time on 31 triple Doppler, a couple of light showers beginning to pop up in the western part of our area. Nothing of major concern, and if you do have plans over the next several hours, it does look like you're going to stay dry. Future radar shows a mainly dry picture for most of this evening. Once we get past midnight, that's when the better chance of rain and possibly some non-severe storms does start to move into North Alabama. So here's a snapshot of 4 o'clock in the morning. Decent chance at some rain moving across the area at that time. And hit and miss showers will remain possible tomorrow morning through tomorrow afternoon. Here is our day planner for tomorrow. Again, chances of off and on rain from the morning through the first part of the afternoon. Late in the afternoon through the evening is when we're concerned about the potential of strong storms. Before those storms arrive, it will get fairly warm with forecast highs in the upper 60s, so seasonably warm for early to mid-December. The cold front arrives in the evening, and that is going to spark a strong line of storms that will race across North Alabama tomorrow evening, posing that threat for damaging wind, but there could be some rotation within that line that could at least briefly pop up a tornado or two. We will be here throughout the entire weekend to keep you updated on that threat. We'll walk you through how long this is going to stick around as we close out the weekend and have a look ahead to the next 10 days when we have additional chances of rainfall. That's all coming up here in about 10 minutes.
Hey, police, get on the bank!
Shattered in 6 seconds, the family of Steve Perkins, a man shot and killed by Decatur police more than 2 months ago, promising to file a federal civil rights lawsuit. This just 24 hours after the announcement of 3 officers fired and 1 suspended. Perkins' wife, Catrella, stood alongside the family's attorney this morning, saying this is only the first step to getting justice. They're asking now for swift action in bringing criminal charges against those officers.
We need to see power brokers, city leaders, Scott Anderson, the mayor's office, everyone involved who are stakeholders in this, moving with the urgency that a murder demands. Because this family is now going through the toughest season of the year, the holiday season, with an empty chair.
Merritt and Catrella say they were granted permission from the court to go forward with their filing of that federal lawsuit, federal civil rights lawsuit. They plan to file it next week. Heated moments as a protester interrupted a news conference held by Decatur City Councilman Hunter Pepper this morning. You can watch as she steps right in front of him and the podium and starts speaking, completely cutting him off. Pepper was speaking about why he believes the mayor's decision to fire those 3 officers involved in Perkins' death and suspend the other was the wrong decision. He claims he is not biased in his opinion.
A lot of people have called me biased because my brother is a Morgan County deputy. I'm not biased in this situation, as I believe that everybody has got the right to fair due process. Everybody has the right to have their day in court, and I believe that their day in court has already been violated.
Pepper says he also has questions for the mayor and wants more insight into how the mayor came to his decision. WAAY 31 has stayed on top of all developments since the deadly shooting back on September 29th. You can find a full library of our coverage on WAAYTV.com and on our WAAY 31 News app. It is free to download for Android and iPhone. Israeli officials believe the number of hostages held in Gaza is now 137 as the war in the Middle East rages on. This is new video showing the aftermath of an Israeli airstrike targeting a mosque in the Gaza Strip. The Israeli military says it struck more than 450 targets in the area in the last 24 hours. The United States vetoed a proposed United Nations Security Council demand for an immediate ceasefire. 13 other members voted in favor of the resolution after the Palestinian ambassador to the United Nations pleaded with members to act as soon as possible. In response, the UN Secretary General agreed and warned of an impending crisis in Gaza.
More than 17,000 Palestinians have reportedly been killed since the start of Israel's military operations. This includes more than 4,000 women and 7,000 children. Tens of thousands are reported to have been injured, and many are missing, presumably under the rubble. And all these numbers are increasing by the day.
The delegation of Arab ministers is also calling for a ceasefire. They were scheduled to meet with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken this afternoon. The president's son is now facing new federal charges. The investigation alleges Hunter Biden engaged in a 4-year scheme that defrauded the government out of at least $1.4 million in taxes owed. ABC's Melissa Adon reports Biden could be facing up to 17 years in prison.
President Biden ignoring questions from reporters about his son's latest federal charges ahead of his trip to the West Coast. Special counsel David Weiss bringing 9 tax-related charges against Hunter Biden, 6 misdemeanors and 3 felony charges, all stemming from failing to pay $1.4 million in taxes from 2016 to 2019. Hunter accused of living an extravagant lifestyle. Among the expenses listed, more than $600,000 in payments to various women, another $397,000 on clothing and accessories, and more than $180,000 on adult entertainment, including porn.
This isn't a case that you can defend on the merits. Maybe you can hope for some sort of jury nullification, but I mean, there's no question, at least according to the indictment, that Hunter Biden didn't pay taxes, that he had the ability to do so, and that he was writing off all sorts of expenses that weren't really business expenses.
The indictment also alleges Hunter earned millions of dollars from foreign entities in Ukraine, Romania, and China, leading him to, quote, spend wildly. Hunter's attorney says the indictment has no new evidence and accused Weiss of bowing to Republican pressure, saying if Hunter's last name was anything other than Biden, the charges in Delaware and now California would not have been brought. His attorney says he has paid more than $2 million in back taxes and penalties and is now whole with the IRS. If convicted, the charges could carry a penalty of up to 17 years in prison. In September, Hunter was charged with a felony gun indictment, but he pleaded not guilty. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Washington.
We were desperate. At that point, we were like, okay, what's going to be next? We thought that we were going to lose him.
A newly approved treatment is giving hope to people with sickle cell disease. We break down what makes it different from previous methods. That's new and next. New at 4:30, Alabama lawmakers could consider a proposal banning state and local leaders from enacting a mask mandate in the future. Representative Brock Colvin of Albertville pre-filed that bill ahead of the spring legislative session. It would also prohibit public K-12 schools from requiring masks. The only exceptions in the proposal are for ADPH medical facilities and state and local detention centers. Also new at 4:30, pharmacists are urging those suffering from flu and cold symptoms to only take medication that is kept behind the counter. That is, a decongestant with the ingredient pseudoephedrine. Advisors for the Food and Drug Administration found it is the only pill that will actually clear up a stuffy nose. Earlier this year, the committee stopped recommending an over-the-counter drug containing a similar ingredient. They agreed phenylephrine recommended dose was not effective. But what is proven to work, again, is pseudoephedrine.
Pseudoephedrine is a drug that is kept behind the counter, that you have to get a driver's license and so forth, and it goes through a state system, in fact, which says, yes, you can get this or no, you can't, based on how much you have gotten in the last 30 days.
He says since the debate surrounding the two ingredients is ongoing, medicines with phenylephrine have not been recalled and do work in nasal spray form. However, that medicine is not recommended for long-term use. A new treatment for sickle cell disease will soon hit the market. The Food and Drug Administration approved it this morning, and it could be a breakthrough for patients that the patients have been waiting for. WAAY 31 anchor Nicole Williams is in the studio to break down how it all works.
Well, this new treatment is called Exocel, and it's different from other treatments on the market because it alters the user's genes to offer a potential cure. This treatment was successful for 15-year-old Johnny Lubin, who was born with sickle cell disease. He started gene-altering therapy at age 13 and is now living without experiencing any severe pain on a daily basis.
It was kind of hard for me to do things like have fun and stuff because I'd always have to be worried about if I'd have a pain crisis or not. It would mostly be in my back, like my lower back, and it'd always be really a pounding pain in my back, so it hurt a lot.
How long would they last?
Sometimes days.
Until now, the only option to cure sickle cell disease was a bone marrow transplant, which requires a donor with an exact blood type match to the patient. Over 80% of patients are unable to find a willing donor, and Johnny was one of them, so his family took a chance on this new treatment. It works by entering edited cells into the bloodstream to prevent severe pain and other symptoms. 29 out of 30 patients in the trial stage went over a year without severe pain after treatment. Now, sickle cell disease affects mostly African Americans and has long been considered neglected by the pharmaceutical industry. Now, with this method approved by the FDA, it'll provide another option for a cure to more than 100,000 people with this condition in the country right now. In studio with coverage you can count on, Nicole Williams, WAAY 31 News.
A long-awaited ban on menthol-flavored cigarettes delayed amid intense lobbying by the tobacco industry. This as leaders within the black community remain divided on the issue. Gloria Pazmino joins us live from New York City. And Gloria, critics say the Biden administration is looking to avoid alienating black voters.
That's right, Dan, and we know that the menthol ban has actually been in the works for nearly a decade. For a while now, we have documented and learned about the negative effects of smoking, specifically when it comes to menthol products used by the black community. Now, public health experts are saying that the upcoming presidential election may be the reason behind this latest delay.
The NAACP is expressing anger and disappointment at the Biden administration for delaying a ban on menthol-flavored cigarettes.
If you don't ban menthol flavor, you send a clear message that black lives do not matter.
More than 83% of black smokers choose menthols, according to a 2020 national survey on drug use and health. And the CDC says black people die at higher rates of smoking-related illnesses. But the African American community is divided on the issue, with some leaders arguing it would lead to an illicit market and more deadly police encounters.
It's becoming a political issue because of black leaders trying to make it such. You know, you have black leaders that are taking the stand of tobacco companies rather than saving black lives.
A ban would only allow the FDA to regulate the sale and distribution of menthol cigarettes. Enforcement would focus on retailers, manufacturers, and distributors, not individuals. Public health groups say the Biden administration is putting politics over people.
There's just no reason for this delay, and only one can conclude cynically that the industry has had an influence on the administration's decision.
Now, the rule that would have put this ban into effect was expected to be published at the end of this year. But now that this delay is playing out, public health advocates are simply hoping that the Biden administration will reconsider. I'm Gloria Pasmino in New York. Back to you.
Gloria, so the ban is delayed, but when it does go into effect, what will enforcement look like?
Well, Dan, the first thing to highlight, and that's important to remember, is that this is essentially a ban on the use of menthol as a characterizing flavor in these products. And enforcement is going to be focused on manufacturers, distributors, and retailers. Part of the reason for that is that the enforcement there's advocates who have said enforcement should not be focused on the user, on the consumer. Part of the reason for that is that there is concern that when people go out to potentially buy these products that are banned, there may be negative interactions with law enforcement who are going to be tasked with the enforcement. So focusing the enforcement on the retailers and the manufacturers ideally does away with that. So it is going to be focused on a larger scale, trying to get to the enforcement before it actually gets into the hands of consumers.
Gloria Pasmino reporting live from New York City. Thanks for that report.
Now, WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Taylor Knust with 31 Triple Doppler.
If you're just joining us, a 31 alert day has been issued for Saturday for the threat of severe weather. Specifically between 5 o'clock in the afternoon through midnight on Saturday night is when we could see some heavy downpours that could cause isolated flash flooding, strong, possibly damaging wind gusts, and there is a threat for some brief tornadoes during that time as well. This is a threat for all of North Alabama. A complete breakdown of what that's going to look like coming up in just 1 minute. Let's start with what's going on outside today, and it is a cloudy sky, but a warm afternoon for this time of the year with temperatures into the 60s in most spots. We're at 61 in Huntsville and Decatur, 63 in Muscle Shoals, 59 in Guntersville and in Scottsboro. I don't expect those temperatures to change too much as we head into this evening. Right now on 31 Triple Doppler, nothing more than a couple sprinkles here and there west of I-65. Nothing to be too concerned about, but you might get a couple raindrops on those windshields if you're heading out and about soon. The more consistent rain is going to start moving our way mainly after midnight, and it is developing right now in northern Mississippi, eventually moves our way late this evening and sticks around much of the night tonight. But here's a look at our forecast in Huntsville, and as you can see, the rain chances pretty low until late in the evening. Temperatures are not too bad for this time of the year, staying in the upper 50s most of the night, and our forecast low tonight is 55 degrees. Here's a look ahead for the next couple of days. For tonight, after midnight, we will see the showers become more widespread. There could be an occasional thunderstorm or two mixed in with that rain, but it's not going to be a severe threat. Just maybe a couple rumbles of thunder here and there overnight tonight and early in the day on Saturday. We'll continue with those scattered showers during Saturday morning. It's not worth necessarily canceling your plans early in the day Saturday because it won't be a consistent rain, but you may have to deal with that occasionally from Saturday morning through the early afternoon. Here's 4 o'clock on Saturday. Still nothing crazy going on, but we are starting to see some severe storms develop in Mississippi and Tennessee at that time. That will start to move our way just ahead of a cold front. So at 6 o'clock in the evening, certainly could be a dangerous time for the shoals. That races eastward to the I-65 corridor around 7, 8, 9 o'clock hours, and then moving into northeast Alabama late in the evening. Again, still posing a severe weather threat at that time. Finally, near or just after midnight, we should see that kick into Georgia. This right here would be lingering rain and non-severe storms possible early in the day on Sunday, but should be gone by the late morning hours. So the severe weather threat will be highest west of I-65. We have that level 2 risk in place, actually stretching from Fayetteville back toward Moulton and Muscle Shoals. Level 1 risk for those of you farther to the east. Most of us are going to get some heavy downpours. Whether or not you see damaging wind, that remains to be seen, but it is a possibility, and some brief spin-up tornadoes are possible. That threat also highest in the western part of our area. Rain totals will vary from possibly below an inch in some spots to upwards of 2 inches possible. Looks like the heaviest of the rain is going to fall in northeast Alabama, but a good soaker coming our way for most of us. Most of the Christmas parades scheduled for tomorrow have been canceled. Few spots still holding out hope for dry weather. The forecast calls for scattered showers and storms possible in Owens Crossroads, Madison, and New Hope. If we do stay dry, it will be warm with temperatures in the 60s tomorrow afternoon, but falling to the 40s by the time we get to Sunday morning, and we are going to stay there all day long on Sunday. Quick look at the 10-day forecast shows drying conditions all of next week with highs in the 50s most of next week as well. We'll be right back after this.
These days are into a lot of things, friends, social media, fashion, trends. In today's Alabama Original with country rover Jamie Cooper, he introduces us to one teenager who has her life all tied up.
"14-year-old Montana Butler of Elkmont is not exactly like most kids her age. She's a go-getter and a real goat-getter. Montana is determined to be a world champion goat tire.
Somebody's gonna break out. Mississippi, we now call the Montana for Parker Norris.
Last year, Montana lost out in the Little Britches World Championship. 3 to 5 days a week, she and her dad, Tommy, meet at the Rustic Rail Arena in Elgin to practice, practice, and practice. Along with her trusted horse, Greg, and 2 practice goats, Curly and Alicia.
You're Montana's dad.
Correct.
How did all this happen? Just love a rodeo.
And she hasn't been in it that long?
No, sir. This is her 3rd year.
The world record in little britches is a bit over 7 seconds, or 21.7 seconds for 3 solid ties. Montana is buckling down to be the next champion in Guthrie, Oklahoma next year, this time in the senior division.
Well, what's it like to be within a nanosecond of being a world champion?
Very nerve-wracking.
How much work do you put into this?
A lot, but it never feels like enough.
Now, isn't this a dangerous sport?
Yes, sir, it can be.
What's the danger?
The danger is when you get off your horse, if you don't get off right with the right angles of your heel, your foot, your toe, it can all go downhill real quick. You can tear ACLs, hurt your knee, tumble roll.
So you're a genuine cowgirl.
Yes, sir.
We're going old school now, the original. Y'all know, this ain't my first rodeo.
For me, unfortunately, bull riding is part of my job. Now let's get down to some action. Here we go.
All right, give me that thing.
Oh yeah, keep it going. Yes, sir, right there.
How do I do it?
It's legs. That's his head.
Little Lauderdale County with an Alabama original. I'm your country rover, Jamie Cooper. Can you help me in the goat up?
Coming up next on WAAY 31 News at 5, making sure kids have some mac during the holiday season. Decades-long tradition in the Shoals that organizers say keeps on growing.
you can count on. This is WAAY 31 News at 5.
I'm Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Taylor Canoose. Saturday is a 31 alert day for the threat of severe weather in North Alabama. I'll walk you through when and what type of severe weather we could see in North Alabama coming up.
Attorney General Steve Marshall's reaction to the deadly Decatur police shooting of Steve Perkins, why he says there should be more emphasis on supporting police. Plus, the city of Huntsville ranked in the top 100 in emerging luxury cities in America. It was the only city, in fact, across 5 states to make that list. Thanks for joining us for WAAY 31 News at 5. I'm Dan Schaefer. Marie Waxel has the evening off. Tomorrow is a 31 alert day for the threat of severe weather. Let's get right over to Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Taylor Canoose. Taylor.
Yeah, we're tracking the threat for some strong storms. The threat increasing compared to how it's looked over the past few days. Timeline is going to be 5 p.m. Saturday through midnight on Saturday night. And we're watching for the threat of heavy downpours, some damaging straight line wind, but also within a line of storms that's expected to move across the area, there could be a couple of spin-up tornadoes. So that is the reason for the 31 alert day. That is going to be a concern for all of North Alabama, but the highest concern will be west of I-65. Let's start with this evening. 31 triple Doppler showing a couple of light showers, mainly west of I-65. We're really just talking about sprinkles at this point, but the threat for rain should pick up quite a bit as we move through the night. Next several hours, I don't anticipate much rain. You can probably keep the umbrellas at home if you're going to be home by about 10 o'clock. After that, the rain chance will increase overnight tonight. Here's a still frame of around 2 o'clock on Saturday morning, where we could see a handful of downpours, maybe even a couple rumbles of thunder in the mix with these showers as we head into early Saturday. Now, heading into Saturday, it's not going to be a complete washout in the morning or the afternoon, but by the evening, we're expecting that strong line of storms to move into the shoals between 5 and 8 o'clock, moving into central parts of our area between 7 and 10 o'clock, and then wrapping up in the Sand Mountain area around 9 o'clock through midnight on Saturday night. The latest look at future radar for that line of storms and the entire weekend forecast coming your way in about 10 minutes.
Thanks, Taylor. Make sure you stay weather aware by downloading our WAAY 31 Storm Tracker weather app. You'll have live weather updates in the palm of your hand, access to our 31 triple Doppler. It'll also alert you if severe storms are in your area. It's free to download right now.
Hey, police, go back!
Shattered in 6 seconds. That's how long it took for Decatur police to confront, shoot, and kill Steve Perkins. And today, we're hearing more from city and state leaders following Mayor Tab Bowling's decision to fire 3 officers involved in the shooting death of Perkins. And that's why we're bringing you live team coverage from the field on these leaders' reactions. I'll begin with WAAY 31's Jillian Kay. And Jillian, you caught up with the Attorney General today, Steve Marshall, to get his reaction. What did he tell you?
I did, Dan, and Attorney General Steve Marshall tells me that he's not too familiar with the particular circumstances of Steve Perkins' case, but he says that there should always be an emphasis on supporting police. Now, Marshall did not have a direct response to Mayor Bowling's decision to fire 3 officers involved in the shooting death of Steve Perkins, but did say he hopes people will remember the sacrifices all officers make to keep us safe.
The reality is that law enforcement around our state every day are doing remarkable work, risking their lives to be able to keep us safe. And regardless of whatever particular story may be out there, the fact of the matter is we need to support law enforcement in the work that they do and being able to keep our communities safer.
I also asked Marshall what he thought might have made the Aaliyah investigation take so long. He says he has no comment. I'm live in Huntsville with coverage you can count on. Jillian Kay, WAAY 31 News.
Thanks, Jillian. It is, quote, the very least the mayor could do. Those words today from Steve Perkins' wife, Catrella, and the family's attorney. They're referring to Decatur mayor firing 3 officers involved in Steve Perkins' shooting death. New tonight, the family says a federal civil rights lawsuit will be filed.
I would have just liked for him to, show a little bit more compassion and communicate better with the family. He hasn't been responsive at all.
The family's attorney, Lee Merritt, says the family's lawsuit is almost ready and will be filed soon. The mayor's actions coming under fire, at least from one city council member this evening, but for completely different reasons. WAAY 31's Matt Paskowitz joins us live now in Decatur. And Matt, the councilman Hunter Pepper says the public support for police officers involved has led to him receiving threats, but he stands by his statements that these officers should never have been fired.
Hey, Dan. Yeah, Hunter Pepper said since he's come forward with his opinions, he said he's been verbally attacked in person and online for those personal beliefs he shared. And Pepper says he does support the right to protest, but he tells me some of the protesters using profanity and making threats is taking it a bit too far. And protests have become a weekly occurrence here in Decatur since that shooting took place here more than 2 months ago. Multiple protesters have been arrested, including Morgan County NAACP President Rodney Gordon. And Pepper tells me he believes in the right for everybody to use their First Amendment, but he says him coming under physical attacks isn't warranted.
Spitting at them, assaulting them. They're doing these things to me as well as protesting outside of people's residences, including the mayor's house. In my personal opinion, this is unacceptable and not considered fair, as I'm sure that they would not want each one of us standing outside of their houses protesting them in the middle of the night, all the way up until 1 in the morning.
Pepper says law enforcement in Decatur right now are under a lot of pressure, and acts by certain protesters are making their jobs harder. During Pepper's press conference today, multiple protesters actually started interrupting him, trying to make their own statements. Tonight on WAAY 31 News at 6, I'll share with you one protester's sound on why they believe Pepper is participating in misconduct. Reporting live in Decatur with coverage you can count on. I'm Matt Paskowitz, WAAY 31 News.
Matt, 4 children and 2 adults are in the hospital after a 2-vehicle crash. This is scene video from this morning when it happened around 7:30 in the area of Drake Avenue and Patton Road. Police say one of the kids has life-threatening injuries and was airlifted to UAB for further medical treatment. A DeKalb substitute teacher faces charges for engaging in a sex act with a student under the age of 19. The DeKalb County Sheriff's Office arrested 30-year-old Kristen Ford. Ford's arrest comes after investigators looked into several complaints. She remains in jail on a $30,000 bond. New at 5, a Florence man is behind bars for trafficking fentanyl. The Lauderdale County Sheriff's Office arrested Brian Hall after executing a search warrant at an apartment on Atlanta Street. During that search, deputies found about 10 grams of fentanyl pills, marijuana, and a small amount of cocaine. Today, Special Counsel David Weiss brought 9 tax-related charges against Hunter Biden, 6 misdemeanors and 3 felony charges. These charges stemming from Hunter allegedly failing to pay $1.4 million in taxes between 2016 and 2019. Hunter allegedly tried to hide payouts for strippers and sex clubs and other personal expenses as business expenses.
This isn't a case that you can defend on the merits. Maybe you can hope for some sort of jury nullification, but I mean, there's no question, at least according to the indictment, that Hunter Biden didn't pay taxes, that he had the ability to do so, and that he was writing off all sorts of expenses that weren't really business expenses.
If convicted, the charges carry a penalty of up to 17 years in prison. Seasonal flu cases continue to rise across most of the country, but especially in the south, west, and mountain regions, according to the CDC. Health experts say getting a flu shot is the best way to protect against a severe illness. But one program's trying to make it so that you want to have to roll up your sleeve every year. Instead, the vaccine would protect you against all strains of the virus.
You wouldn't have to wait for a particular season. And as long as we have long-lived immunity, then we would be protected this year, the next year, the year after, without having to get a booster shot.
The director in charge of the program hopes a universal vaccine would encourage more people to get vaccinated, but the viruses would not go away completely. The vaccine would still have to be updated every year. Hundreds of students at the University of North Alabama are getting ready for graduation tonight. This includes graduates and undergraduate students in the Anderson College of Nursing and Health Professions and the College of Education and Human Sciences. It's set to take place in the Norton Auditorium. The Huntsville-Madison Chamber is holding career fair for college students who are home on holiday break. Next Tuesday, students will have the opportunity to meet with 27 employers who are offering full-time roles, co-op positions, and internships. It takes place at the Chamber from 3 to 5 p.m. Students are encouraged to register ahead of time. New at 5, when thinking of luxury living, it's typically major cities like New York, LA, or perhaps tropical locations like Hawaii that come to mind. But what about the city of Huntsville? Well, according to Architectural Digest, the Rocket City ranked number 70 for luxury living out of 115 cities. Huntsville was, in fact, the only city across 5 southern states to make the list. We're learning new details about the UNLV campus shooter, what a former student had to say about the gunman. And the humanitarian crisis in Gaza deepening as fighting expands. U.S. officials urging Israel to help protect residents in the territory.
I'm WAAY 31's Nikel Williams. What Colbert Heights High School is doing to stop an outbreak that's forcing students to stay home from school tonight on WAAY 31 News at 6.
Coverage you can count on. This is WAAY 31 News at 5 with Dan Schaefer, Marie Waxel, and Chief Meteorologist Taylor Knust.
Today, President Biden was in Las Vegas speaking out about the deadly mass shooting at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. His visit comes as authorities release new information about the shooting suspect. Police say the suspect had a list of people he was targeting but was unsuccessful finding them. turning the gun on other victims instead. Paul Whittington was in one of the gunman's classes at East Carolina, where the suspect taught for 16 years.
He kept a running log of every single negative thing that a student said about him. He would try to figure out who wrote the negative feedback.
Investigators found 22 letters that the suspect sent to university personnel nationwide. They say tests confirmed at least one was laced with what turned out to be talcum powder. A man who allegedly fired off a shotgun in the parking lot of an Albany, New York synagogue Thursday made his first court appearance. 28-year-old Mufid Al-Qader waived his right to a detention hearing and was detained pending trial. The incident happened just hours before a Hanukkah observance was set to begin. Al-Qader told investigators the war between Israel and Hamas impacted him. Right now, the case is being investigated by the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force and Albany Police. And concerning the Israel-Hamas war, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza deepens. Israel is continuing its bombardment, of Gaza. Israeli Defense Forces focusing their efforts in the south. ABC's Rena Roy has more.
Israel continuing its barrage on Gaza as Israeli Defense Forces try to take out Hamas in retaliation for the deadly October 7th terrorist attack. Innocent civilians say they're living in horror as the strikes wipe out entire neighborhoods. This man says he was sitting in his home safe when he was surprised by a belt of fire that hit the entire area as children were playing in the streets. The U.S. urging Israel to help protect the residents of Gaza.
It remains imperative that Israel put a premium on civilian protection.
Outrage growing over this new video that shows Palestinian men in their underwear, kneeling with their hands behind their backs, surrounded by Israeli soldiers in Gaza. Israel says the men are captured Hamas terror suspects. ABC's James Longman pressing the IDF on that claim.
Do you consider these to be terrorists or are they civilians?
Israel does not arrest, apprehend, or target anyone in the Gaza Strip that is not a Hamas terrorist or poses an imminent threat to Israel.
The Committee to Protect Journalists saying one of those men is Palestinian correspondent Dia Al-Khalut, and they are demanding his release. Meanwhile, in Israel, families of hostages coming together to mark the start of Hanukkah. Among the 137 still missing, 8 Americans, including Efrat Moore's cousin, Omer.
We want to see negotiation. We understand that every day that they are there jeopardize their lives. So we need action.
That was ABC's Rena Roy reporting. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres invoked Article 99 of the Security Council, urging an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The UN says nearly 1.9 million Palestinians are now displaced in Gaza, and food is scarce.
Now, WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Taylor Knust with 31 Triple Doppler.
Saturday's the 31 alert day, so pay attention to the forecast here.
Yes, we are monitoring the threat for severe weather. It's been a few months since we've had a severe threat.
It's been a minute, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. So may need some reminders to get you going, but we are looking at a threat for damaging wind and a possibility of a couple of tornadoes. This is going to be for late in the day Saturday through Saturday night, specifically 5 p.m. through midnight. Heavy rainfall, damaging straight line wind, and a couple of brief spin-up tornadoes possible as a strong line of storms sweeps across the area tomorrow night. As for this evening, we are currently dry. It is 59 degrees in Huntsville. The temperatures are going to stay seasonably warm throughout the night tonight with forecast lows in the 50s. We are still at 60 in Decatur and 61 at this hour in Muscle Shoals. So for this time of the year, it's not going to get too cold and should be good to go in Fort Payne for tonight's Christmas parade. Temperature should be around 59 degrees there at the top of the next hour, likely staying dry with mostly cloudy skies. 31 Triple Doppler picking up on a couple of light showers here and there close to the I-65 corridor. This is really not much more than a couple of sprinkles, but nonetheless, that is what we're seeing right now in North Alabama. Here's the wider view out ahead of the main front that is going to bring us nasty weather tomorrow night. We have a few light showers developing near the Mississippi River Valley and across Mississippi that will move toward North Alabama later on tonight. The area of low pressure in the front could kick up a few strong storms in Arkansas this evening and tonight, and then that threat expands and becomes greater across much of the region from Kentucky all the way down to Louisiana and Texas tomorrow through tomorrow night. New today, we have seen this expand into North Alabama. The level 2 risk is in place from Fayetteville down through Decatur, Moulton, and including the Shoals region. Those farther east in green under the level 1 out of 5 risk for severe storms. Now, most of us are going to get at least heavy downpours, probably some strong storms tomorrow night as well. So that's going to be the most widespread impact with this system, but there is a threat for damaging straight line wind up to 60 miles per hour. And within the line, we could see a handful of those cause at least rotation and possibility of a brief spin-up tornado or two tomorrow night. For tonight, we could see showers move our way, especially after midnight. No worries about severe weather, but a handful of storms will be possible overnight and early on Saturday morning. From Saturday morning through the first half of the afternoon, hit and miss showers and isolated storms possible, but it will not consistently rain. I would not cancel your plans necessarily if you have anything going on in the morning or early afternoon. If you have Christmas shopping to get done, that's going to be the time to do it. Here's 6 o'clock on Saturday evening. The strong storms start building around the shoals, push eastward toward the I-65 corridor. Huntsville around 8 o'clock in the evening. Continue to march eastward toward northeast Alabama, stretching back to Coleman around 10 o'clock, and then gradually clearing out late in the night. By midnight on Saturday night, most of that clears out. We'll see some lingering rain behind that initial surge of strong storms, but that should clear out by mid to late morning on Sunday. Now, rain totals are just going to depend on where that heaviest rain falls along that squall line that's expected to move through. Right now, our data is suggesting that's going to be heaviest in northeast Alabama, but everyone has a possibility at least 1 inch. And I think a handful of spots will end up with more than 2 inches of rain from this weekend system. Here's your 10-day forecast. Big cool down coming our way as that front moves on through. We go from a high of 68 tomorrow down to 48 on Sunday. Both tomorrow and Sunday will be on the breezy side as well. We'll calm down with plenty of sunshine coming our way as we head toward next week, and a lot of highs in the 50s heading our way next week as well.
That looks pretty good.
Yep, just got to get through tomorrow first.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Taylor.
You bet.
Florence City Councilman is collecting boxes of mac and cheese. We'll tell you why after the break. New at 5, the MAC is back with the help of a Shoals City Councilman. Florence City Councilman Bill Griffin started collecting mac and cheese to go along with angel tree gifts and meal packs provided by the Salvation Army. 10 years later now, it continues to grow with over 1,000 boxes already distributed this year. The idea is simply to provide something that kids will enjoy over the holiday break and prepare from home.
I'm a problem solver. That's what I do. And some problems are simple. To me, this is simple. Some problems are a little harder. And I served on the school board for 8 years. And I just felt like if I went to the city, there'd be new problems I could solve. So, but I never gave up on the mac and cheese. 10 years and counting.
Yes, sir. Members of Florence Parks and Rec also play a big role in collecting those mac and cheese boxes. Good for them. Sounds good right about
Can't go wrong with mac and cheese.
No, you can't. We got a 31 alert day tomorrow for the potential for severe storms.
Correct, yes, especially late in the day and into Saturday night. We're going to have that potential for damaging wind and possibility of tornadoes as well. The WAAY 31 Storm Tracker weather team will be here all weekend long to keep you all safe. If you do not have the Storm Tracker weather app, make sure to download that. It will send you alerts on what's to come as far as warnings and updates from us meteorologists as well. As for tomorrow, we'll see a high of 68 degrees. Once that front passes on by, we get cold in a hurry. 48 your high on Sunday. The low on Sunday night is 28 degrees. So it will be a frosty and cold start to your work.
That's a pretty powerful cold front coming through.
Yeah, big drop
You're
coming.
going to notice it. All right. Stay safe out there, everybody. WAAY 31 gives you 24/7 coverage you could count on, local news, breaking news, and severe weather. You can watch WAAY 31 on all of our streaming platforms. And again, download the only weather app with 31 Triple Doppler. World News Tonight with David Muir starts in just a few minutes right here on WAAY 31. And we hope to see you back here for WAAY 31 News at 6.